Every day, millions of cardboard boxes are used and discarded around the world. They appear everywhere, in logistics warehouses, distribution centers, supermarkets, factories, and even inside our own homes. We open a box, take what we need, then fold it up and throw it away without a second thought. But if all these boxes simply became waste, the modern world would quickly be buried under mountains of paper. That is why, behind the convenience we enjoy every day, massive recycling systems operate silently around the clock, transforming what seems worthless into valuable resources. In this video, you will follow the complete journey of a cardboard box, from the moment it is discarded to the moment it is reborn as something entirely new. The rebirth of cardboard begins in the most familiar places. After use, cardboard boxes are folded, bundled together, and gathered at collection points. From there, specialized trucks transport them to recycling facilities. As the trucks arrive, an overwhelming sight appears. Massive mountains of cardboard stacked high across the factory grounds. At this stage, cardboard is nothing more than waste, holding no real value. But this is exactly where its transformation begins. Not all cardboard is the same. Some boxes are clean and dry, while others are covered in grease, heavy ink, tape, or plastic labels. If these contaminants are not removed, the entire recycling process can be compromised. That is why the cardboard is fed onto long conveyor belts, where machines and workers work together to sort it. Non-recyclable materials such as plastics, metals, and bindings are removed early in the process. Only suitable cardboard is allowed to move further down the recycling line. At this stage, there is something the camera cannot fully convey: the sense of repetition and sheer volume. Cardboard boxes do not pass through the conveyor just once, but thousands, tens of thousands of them move continuously without pause. Every second, a decision is being made: keep or remove. A single small mistake, a thin piece of plastic left behind, can affect everything that comes afterward. That is why sorting is not a secondary step, but the foundation of the entire recycling line. This is the point where it is decided whether the cardboard will be allowed to live another life. When watching the conveyor belts move endlessly, it may seem like a simple, repetitive task. In reality, this stage demands absolute precision. Cardboard covered with excessive tape can disrupt shredding machines. Cardboard mixed with metal can damage equipment. These small details, if not removed in time, become serious problems later in the process. That is why, before cardboard is shredded and loses its original shape, it must pass through the most critical checkpoint of the entire system. Once sorted, the cardboard is fed into industrial shredders. The rigid sheets that once protected goods are torn into countless small pieces. These fragments are then sent into massive water tanks, where water, heat, and mechanical motion break down the paper's original structure. The cellulose fibers gradually separate, forming a thick pulp. At this moment, the old cardboard loses its original form and prepares to enter a new life cycle. This is the most critical moment in the entire recycling journey. As cardboard enters the shredders and water tanks, it is no longer a box. The sharp edges and familiar folds slowly disappear. What remains are tiny paper fibers suspended in constantly moving water. At this point, the cardboard completely loses its former identity. It is no longer defined by shape, but exists only as raw material, ready to be rebuilt from the beginning. Water plays a central role in this process. It does more than simply soak the paper. It breaks old bonds and separates each cellulose fiber from its original structure. The constant movement of water keeps the pulp circulating, colliding, and blending together. This motion ensures that old cardboard can never return to its previous form, forcing it into an entirely new state. Inside these tanks, the past life of the cardboard is erased, making room for a new one to begin. Before moving to the final step, I want to pause here because this stage determines almost the entire result. Once you actually do it, you realize that rushing this part will affect the final outcome. Small details at this stage directly impact the strength, shape, and usability of the product. In recycling, some steps cannot be skipped, not because they are difficult, but because they change the material at its core. If you plan to try this yourself, slow down here because it will shape the final quality. The recycled pulp is not yet fully clean. Ink, adhesives, and microscopic contaminants are removed through multiple filtration systems. Once the pulp reaches the required purity, it is spread thinly onto forming conveyors. Water is pressed out, and the cellulose fibers bond together, gradually forming new sheets of paper. These sheets then pass through high-temperature drying systems to achieve the strength and rigidity needed for cardboard. And this is the final result. From a discarded object, through each step of processing, it has become something with a clear form and function. What matters is not just how it looks, but that it is actually usable and valuable. Recycling is not simply turning old things into new ones, but rethinking the potential of what was once considered waste. Even if it is not perfect, this result shows that waste is not always an end, but can be a different beginning with enough time and patience. And this is the final result. From a discarded object, through each step of processing, it has become something with a clear form and function. What matters is not just how it looks, but that it is actually usable and valuable. Recycling is not simply turning old things into new ones, but rethinking the potential of what was once considered waste. Even if it is not perfect, this result shows that waste is not always an end, but can be a different beginning with enough time and patience.